you get married, and then all of a sudden, this person that you chose specifically because they make you feel so good, all of a sudden they start poking you in these wounds and raw spots that you have from growing up, right? And they're triggering you in ways that you didn't even dream were still possible. Now, here's the thing. Here's the mysticism of marriage. That poking is inviting you to heal those past hurts and wounds. So the thing about the person that we choose, and I love what he even calls it, it's called the mysticism of marriage. The person that we choose is close enough to those childhood wounds, right? Like one way of saying is we marry our unfinished business, right? Or we marry somebody who uniquely triggered us in the way that we were wounded as a child, but also someone who has the resources or different resources that our family of origin maybe didn't have.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall, and I'm excited about this because it is not often, in fact, Amazon would tell me, yay, never, that you would see titles of books and podcasts episodes being called Bad Marriage Advice. So I'm hoping we really lean into that and talk all about that. My guest is Monica Tanner. Welcome into the Cultural Hall.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here.
Now, you have listened to the Cultural Hall before, I presume. How did you come to it? Do you remember?
Well, I've been on the Cultural Hall before. I told my conversion story, maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's got to be longer than 5 years ago. I'll find that out. But tell me how you first found us. Do you remember?
I don't. I feel like you approached me, because I was just barely starting, kind of telling my story, doing podcasts. I didn't know anything what I'm doing. So if you go listen to that episode and go listen to this episode, I hope you'll notice a difference because I was way more nervous back then.
It was October 6th of 2019, so nearly 6 years ago, episode 349, and this is somewhere in the 900s
Wow.
as we do this.
Good for you for sticking around for so long.
Well, you can't get rid of me. You can excommunicate me, but you can't get rid of me. And then I came back and they still couldn't get rid of me. It's the secret to my success. Is it brains? No. Is it doing something new? No, it's not that. It is
good looks.
Never. Good looks. No, it is not good looks either. It is never going away. Persistence is the key. You are let me make sure that I get this right. A relational life therapist, coach.
So relational life practitioner. I'm not an actual therapist, but I do have the RLT practitioner training.
Which is a big deal and a big distinguishment for a lot of people, right? Because therapists are a certain one, mode or module or whatever, and life coaches are a different thing. And people are starting to crack down on that a little bit. Tell me where you come in on all that.
Yeah, when my kids, I have 4 children, and when they went back to school, when my youngest went back to school full time, I was like, I'm doing it. I want to be a therapist. And so I started my master's program, and I actually didn't love a lot of the things that I was learning. And in one of my first classes, we had an assignment to interview other therapists. And of course, I wanted to be a couples therapist. And so I was finding in my research and my interviews that couples counseling actually has a very low success rate. Most couples wait until they're on the brink of divorce to get help. And then there's not a lot that traditional therapists can do to help the situation. And so I thought, well, then I'll go into coaching. So I got out of the program and I went into coaching because here's how I talked about it, is I wanted to do oil changes and not work on blown engines. So therapists work on blown engines. And I thought as a coach, I can teach couples cool skills and things to prevent them from getting to that point. So I was doing oil changes, but I had this real kind of fear of couples who are on the brink where, if they were thinking about or talking about divorce, I was like, oh, I can't work with you. But I realized that a lot of couples get to that point, and I wanted to be able to help them, work with them. And so that's when I found Relational Life Therapy, where it's amazing. So the creator is Terrence Real, and he started like what kind of made him famous was dealing with men's depression, which
Okay.
is really kind of an interesting, it's way more common than we think, and it has a huge impact on men, especially, but also on marriages. So that's where he kind of got his start. And then he now is really known for helping couples who are on the brink of divorce. So couples who are, it's this is their last stop, their last ditch effort, will go see him. And by the end of working with him for a couple of days, they would either know, like, okay, we're on the path to reconciling and we're going to make this work,
Hmm.
or we're going to divorce.
Yeah.
And so his modality is it creates behavioral change very quickly. It's kind of a no nonsense. It's not like you're going to be in therapy for years with me. We work 3 to 6 months, and then you either are going to go through with the divorce or you're on the path to reconciliation.
Yeah, you feel empowered to be able to do that. Another credential that, as I'm doing my little research beforehand, I certainly recognize the name. Have had the opportunity to speak with them before. Never interviewed for the Cultural Hall, unfortunately. But the Gottmans,
Amazing.
talk to me about the relationship that you have there. Is that a training program? Just familiar with their work, and why that would matter? Why do people care?
Yeah, well, because I'm not a therapist, I can't go through the full range of their program,
Uh-huh.
but I am certified to teach Gottman workshops, which the 7 principles of making marriage work workshops,
Hmm.
which are super helpful. Terry Real, so RLT has boot camps, relational boot camps, and Gottman has 7 principles of making marriage work workshops. So I am trained to do both of those things, and they're both really helpful. But again, the Gottman is more like we want to strengthen our relationship, whereas the relational life boot camps definitely are going to strengthen your relationship, but are also appropriate if you're really questioning whether you want to continue in the relationship or not. So,
So spouting your own example back, if I'm hearing correctly, you do the oil changes, and some of these other certifications are like I can also do oil changes on electric vehicles. Not that that's a thing; they don't actually have oil, but I also can do the this with the that kind of car. There's a place and a time for both of those things, and this is the realm with in which you
yeah.
exist.
When you
Yeah.
see me talking around like, on my podcast and, kind of the work, the things that I do, that's a lot of oil changes. That's like, here's what you can do to, keep your relationship healthy and strong. These are relational skills that will really, you know, strengthen your relationship with each other. But when I work with couples, the majority of couples that come to me are really struggling, like really
Mhm.
contemplating divorce. And so I didn't want to turn those people away. And so now I feel much more confident working with them. But those are like one-on-one cases, not in a group setting.
I also think it's interesting because sometimes a lot of people, and maybe rightfully so, or maybe not, I'll leave that to someone else to decide, but we get super worked up about things. And if I'm in a relationship like trauma and I just want my relationship to be better, I don't care if I don't care if you're a literal car mechanic. If what you're going to give me is something that I can employ and be able to make that relationship better, boom, I love it. I'll take whatever kind of advice that is. So I think that's important perspective as well. Now, let me ask you this as we overlay this over the religious context. I would imagine that because you are a Latter-day Saint, that a lot of people that hear of you, know of you, connect with you are Latter-day Saints,
Mhm.
which would then make me believe or lean me to believe that most of these people are like divorce is not an option. We made eternal covenants. We are doing this for the long haul. I'll figure it out. Whatever it is, I'll change who I am completely and be miserable because this was God's plan and I felt it and knew it. Is there that nuance with Latter-day Saints that you don't see with others?
So interesting. Well, you bring up Latter-day Saints, but most conservative Christian religions do
Mhm.
operate under that same premise.
Sure.
And that is a dedicated chapter in my book. I also just did a podcast episode on it. Like, literally, if I could strike any bad advice from the record, like, do not do this, do not listen to this, like, the most damaging bad marriage advice would be to operate under the idea that divorce is not an option. It is literally so destructive. And I
Why?
do work with couples all of the time. So So I'll explain that. Let me explain that with an
Yeah.
actual case study. So I'm working with an individual right now. He's a husband and he's very disillusioned with his marriage. He feels very disconnected from his spouse. He's basically miserable.
Sure.
And his wife will not join him in therapy. Now, here's the thing, because they operate under this idea that divorce is not an option and they're stuck together for eternity,
Hmm.
what motivation does she actually have to come to therapy and try to make things better, right? Like I remember asking him like do you believe so strongly that you can't give her an ultimatum? Like I want our marriage to be better. I want you to join us in
Hmm.
I want you to join me in coaching or else I'm going to have to like maybe leave this marriage. Like maybe this isn't the right situation. He's like, "Oh, I can't do that." And
Mm.
I'm like, "Why?" And he truly believes that he needs his spouse, this spouse that he is sealed to in the temple, in order to get to heaven. Like he cannot get to the highest kingdom of heaven unless he brings her with him.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter if they're miserable.
Mm.
So, in talking to him, I mean, in 20 years of marriage, she's never apologized for anything or taken any type of accountability for her impact on him. And
Right.
what's really hard about that is why would she? She doesn't need to make any changes. She doesn't need to think about, their relationship and strengthening it and, being connected to him and, being intimate with him. Why would she? They're locked in. They made covenants 20 years ago
Hmm.
and both of them are stuck. So why grow? Why evolve? Why make yourself pleasing? Why think about your impact on your spouse when there's literally nothing. They don't have a choice to leave the marriage. But also that's a huge lie because you always have the choice to leave a marriage.
Sure. And walked out a little bit further, like if, I always kind of think of these type of things when I think, okay, well, does God want me to be miserable? There's probably some sort of disconnect then. And, the gospel principle of agency, one that we talk quite a bit about, like that doesn't seem very agency filled at some point. Like maybe you made the choice to get married, but then that there's not the other choice or other choices you can do within that. That seems very, very counter to like gospel principles.
Of course. And I think that the reason why people say that so much, divorce is not an option, is this
Hmm.
idea of commitment, right? Like we're teaching commitment, like you're committed now and you can't get out of this marriage, right? But you think about it has the absolute opposite effect. If I'm committed to this relationship because I have no other choice or because I'm stuck, or I'm committed to this relationship because no matter what we go through together, I'm going to choose you, right? Like
Hmm.
that's a very different premise to operate on. It's very different to think like I'm stuck, I can't get out, I'm miserable, like here's all the reasons why I hate where I'm at
Hmm.
versus what can we both do to make this a marriage that we both want to be in, right? It's like a different way of thinking. And so when you realize that divorce is an option, that at any point either partner can decide to walk away, then you start thinking, I want this marriage to be a place where we both want to be. And so how can I make this marriage better? Like what can I do that would make you want to be here with me, right?
Hmm. Is there something to the grit of the commitment where it's like I promised, this would be forever, and you can sort of be miserable, but then lean on the commitment. I guess what I'm saying is it seems like in some cases people give up far too easily. And so it seems to me that there would be a positive to like we're really gonna give it the old commitment where this isn't an option that would give strength where maybe it wouldn't otherwise.
Well, think about what would be the purpose of getting uncomfortable, of having difficult conversations, of confronting yourself, of dealing with the idea that you impact your partner, that your decisions, that your behaviors maybe are hard for your partner to deal with, right? Like,
Mhm.
why would you even think about or consider any of that if they don't have an option to leave?
Right.
I mean, there's
Right.
no reason to. But if you think, you know what, this isn't permanent and my partner doesn't have to stay here for any reason. Like maybe it's better for them to go. Like I would definitely be thinking like, okay, what is my impact on him? What is it like to be married to me. What, there's difficult conversations that we need to be having so that we both want to be here together. Like
Mhm.
that is so much more empowering than just he just has to deal with it because he's stuck with me.
It seems like some part of what you were saying too is just sort of that accountability to the promise that you've made too. There's not only the promise, but it seems like if it's just commitment for commitment's sake and you're not putting any sort
Yeah.
of effort towards it, your behavior being the language of I'm not actually committed seems like not to be a person of integrity or honest or whatever. It's just like, yes, I'm not ever getting divorced, but I'm not committed, which is more than just the legal part of it.
Well, think about it in terms of sports. I love sports analogies. Like an athlete, if you're promised at birth that you, no matter what, are going to go to the 2028 Olympics
Hmm.
in skiing, why would you ever put any effort into earning that position or like getting really good at it? Because no matter what, you're going to the Olympics. Like it doesn't matter if there's people that are better to you than you. It doesn't matter if you're going to fail miserably when you get there. Like it doesn't matter. You've been promised this thing. You don't have to work for it. So like
Mm.
why would you? And that's the same with an eternal marriage. Like if you believe that you are locked in and you cannot get out of it, the holy wrath of hell, like you're not going to heaven if you do,
Hmm.
why would you put any work and effort and intention into that marriage relationship?
Yeah. The thing that's interesting to me, specifically with this bad marriage advice, is when I was about to get married the first time, I was sort of an older person to get married, older as far as the church goes, not older in general. 30. I was 30. And I was wrestling with the decision to either get married or not. And I was like, man, yeah, I don't know. How do you know that it's the right one? I feel like I prayed about it. I feel like this is all the thing. And really got myself worked up because I do believe that it's a big decision, eternal consequences, all these
Most
things.
important decision you'll probably ever make. Yeah.
And I didn't know how to like allow myself to make that decision. It seems so final. My older brother said, "Here's the deal. If you don't like it, you can get divorced." And it was like, and he wasn't saying it flippantly,
Right, right,
certainly,
right.
like, yeah, yeah,
Right.
if you don't like it, go back the next day and tell her no. But it was a thing where I was like, oh, yeah, okay, got it. And it seems so dumb as I look back on it now because we're actually divorced. But as I look back on it and I just go, I needed to know that I always have a choice.
That you're never giving up your agency.
Right, right. And then I was able to choose it, and there were certainly some good parts. And wasn't particularly great, and it ended up being dissolved, and we were done. But I was able to make that choice because I knew I could make that choice. So, bad marriage advice number one is what we say. You can always get divorced. How do you phrase the bad marriage advice? Never you get
The
divorced.
bad marriage advice is that divorce is not an option.
Okay.
That's the bad marriage advice. Don't operate under that assumption. Divorce
Okay.
is always an option. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
So, there's in the book, I list 10 problems with that,
Hmm.
thinking that way, and then how to think instead, right? Like the anecdote to that is really like, how do we create a marriage that both of us really want to be in and choose every single day, right? So it's not like divorce is not an option, but it's like we chose each other. We want to continue choosing each other. How do we make that a reality?
Yeah. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to guess another one. I haven't seen the book yet. There is a link in the show notes for people to be able to purchase it. So if you're like, yes, all of this, so much yes, you can find that in the show notes. But I want to guess. It's one that I hear at most weddings that I DJ at, and I'm pretty sure it's got to be in that book. We'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll do that in the second block. Let me take just a moment to tell you all about bestdjinutah.com. That is the website where you can learn all about me. Oh, sure, you probably feel like you know me, but you know me in the cultural hall sense. I have a DJ company, now 6 of us strong, great event hosts, MCs, and DJs that can be able to make whatever event you have coming up absolutely spectacular, and hope you will reach out to us. Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Richie, I don't live in Utah. Would you travel? Absolutely, I would travel. Would they travel? Absolutely, they would travel. Whatever your event is, doesn't have to be a wedding or a community event. We can do all sorts of things. I can teach you line dancing. I can dance with you. We can do partner dancing. We can do all kinds of things, but we can't do any of it if you don't hit me up. You can go to bestdjinutah.com. You can fill out the form to get more information or get a quote, and then I will get right back to you. Find out why I'm so busy and why sometimes we don't get episodes of the Cultural Hall. It's all because of bestdjinutah.com. Here in the second block of the Cultural Hall, remember that you can always become a Patreon saint of the Cultural Hall. Go to patreon.com/the Cultural Hall, where as little as $5 a month, you could be a part of the Celestial group of people supporting the Cultural Hall. Of course, there's only a few places in the Celestial part. You can find about it at patreon.com. You also get to be a part of the secret but not sacred Facebook group where all the Patreon saints are hanging out. So think about doing it. Go to patreon.com/the Cultural Hall. So here is a piece of bad advice. Maybe I'll do two. Maybe I'll lump them together. That way I have a greater chance of at least one of them being in the book. One of them that I just want to scream about, I don't want to scream necessarily about the other one as much, is Happy Wife, Happy Life. And then the other one is Never Go to Bed Angry. So I would love to know, are both of those, either of those in the book? They both
There is
are?
a chapter dedicated to both of those horrible pieces
Yes!
of marriage advice.
And I have not seen the book. So
And
this
you
is
will, and you're going to feel so like encouraged because you're going to be like, yes,
validated.
I knew that was bad advice.
So I'll give you interviewee's choice. Which one of those would you like to walk out? I don't want to walk out the other one, and I want to do a surprising bad advice in the third block. So save that for that third block. But which one of those that I prompted up do you want to talk about?
I think people get more riled up, and I haven't talked about as much as the happy wife, happy life.
Let's do it.
I hear that all the time.
Hmm.
Like there's like memes and like reels and like all like old. I feel like old men love to say that. Like she's the
Yes.
boss, she's always right. As long as she's happy, everyone's happy. Like
Hmm.
why? Why would you think that a good marriage is predicated on only one partner being happy? That makes no sense.
But so I will walk out a little bit that I have seen. I think that oftentimes, if there's going to be like a sexual gatekeeper in a relationship, I think it's far more the woman than the man.
Yep,
I
that's
think
also there's a chapter in the book dedicated to that too.
okay. I think that some of it is men not wanting to take responsibility for things, and so they can pitch the blame on that. Listen, I wanted to come over, but my
Yeah, the
wife,
old ball
I,
and chain.
elbow, we got a tight leash.
Yep.
I've got the honeydew list, like all these things I feel like kind of fall under that. And some of it, sometimes I think it is a fairly like powerful or dominating or domineering woman. But I think for the most part, it's just a way that guys don't have to take responsibility for stuff.
Well, I think you're right, and I don't think there's anything wrong with using your spouse as a scapegoat. Like, sorry, can't come over because I got the honeydew list or whatever. Like, nothing
Sure.
wrong with that. But
Well,
on the flip side as well, like,
something wrong with
sorry,
that. Something wrong with that.
well,
It's a little disingenuous, don't you think?
maybe, but you also might feel strongly that you need to work on the to-do list instead of go hang out with the guys,
Yeah,
right?
if that's what you're doing. But if you are just getting out of the thing and being like, "Hey, it's my wife," and you're just not doing it, I think there's more integrity to be done. And this is side tangent because I want
Maybe.
to get back to this. But
Yeah.
to just be able to be like, you know what? I actually don't want to do that thing, or I have other priorities. It's not you. I've got other things that I would like to do right now. Please invite
Yeah.
me again and allow me to do that instead. Because
Yeah.
then the bros, then the guys are like, oh, the old bag. Oh, she won't let you do anything. And then in a time where maybe you need your guys to be supportive of you and your wife and your relationship, they're not going to show up that way. Let's go back to what we were talking about. Sorry.
That's actually phenomenal. Like I love the way you put all of that. That's fantastic. But I'm always like, my kids need to get out of something, I'm like, blame it on me. Say your mom said no.
Sure. But kids
But
and
a
moms are
better thing
different.
to
Yeah.
teach would be to be very honest, just like you just illustrated. I thought that was beautiful.
So happy wife, happy life. How do you teach? I feel like so
Well,
many of these things are ingrained, sometimes culturally, most of the time socially. It's a bad piece of advice. Some people firmly believe it.
right.
Whether I've heard it from the pulpit in a testimony meeting or something else, there are people that stick to this. But how do you break out that bad advice?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, the anecdote to that is happy spouse, happy house, right?
Right.
Both partners in the marriage deserve to be happy. So, why you would teach or preach or think that only one spouse is supposed to be happy, and then this causes massive withdrawal and disconnection and resentment from the husband, right? If, like, well, it's always her way or the highway, like we just do, like I don't have a voice in this. It's just, whatever she thinks, and you see this happen in big and small ways. Like when it comes to raising the kids, well, she knows what she's doing, so I mean, my opinion doesn't count. We just do it her way, right? Or like, the way you make the bed or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All of these bad pieces of advice have one thing in common, and that is that they stifle communication.
Hmm.
And when couples come in to see me, or any counselor for that matter, most, like probably 95% of them, are going to say we struggle with communication. And I'm going to tell you that the root of that struggle is based in some of these terrible marriage pieces of terrible marriage advice, right? Like happy wife, happy life. Why are you as a husband going to communicate your desires, your wants, your needs, your opinions if it's always going to fall on the wife? Like, it doesn't matter what I think, we just do it her way, right? Like, why are you
Yeah.
going to communicate what's actually really important to you? And why do you think that's healthy?
So knowing that and knowing that this is a bad piece of advice and that literally from the onset and before, but let's take it, it's the toasts at the wedding reception and they're, happy wife, happy life. Let's say they'd never heard anything about it before. They're earnestly hearing this and being like, okay, happy wife, happy life. They need to destroy that myth. Is it a conversation? Some of the things that you walked out, like I can see where it's like, hey, let's take a traditional role for a minute. I'm the man who's going to go to the place and work in the building. I don't feel like we should do the things with the kids like this. And she says, that's great, but I'm going to be the one to do the things with the kids. So why wouldn't I do it my way? Like, how do you have the conversation? Because it is just a
It's
communication
a
issue,
great
but
question. It's
some of
a
it are
great
sort of default ways into responsibilities or whatever. And so we just go, okay, fine, do it that way.
Yeah, so happy wife, happy life, like letting your wife decide what to do with the kids is a huge cop out. Like I go to work, so I mean she just gets to decide. Like no, like if you have an opinion about how things should be done with the kids as the husband who goes to work every day, it's your responsibility, both of you, to find out why you feel strongly about that. And that's communication. That's like, hey, I'm hearing that you think it's really important that we homeschool the kids. Well, that would be my responsibility. What about that is important and appealing to you? Because you'll find this weaved through several chapters in the book,
Hmm.
but understanding each other is so much. And in a chapter in the book I called Don't Compromise, Stop Compromising. It's horrible advice. Start collaborating. And in order to collaborate, you have to know the things that are important to your partner. So you don't just like let it fall on well, this is, you're mainly in charge with the kids, so just do it your way. It's like there's so much power in two perspectives, two opinions, two experiences, two preferences, right? So, like, but you lose that power when you don't honor both of them. So, in order to do what's best for your children, the ones that you both put time, energy, effort, and DNA into,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You need both of your opinions and perspectives on it. And so instead of just defaulting to one partner or the other all the time, which is terrible, is like going to your spouse and saying, like, okay, that's really interesting. What about that is important to you? What do you value about that? What do I need to understand more about your opinion on that? And
Hmm.
then we can collaborate and make the best decision for our children using all of the data from both spouses. That's how you get happy spouse, happy house.
But let's take that example of
Mhm.
homeschooling.
Yeah.
Because you're either
I help
homeschooled,
a lot of couples make this decision.
or you're not homeschooled,
Hmm.
right? It's not like, well, the kids were kind of homeschooled.
Well, you can
I
do
guess you
that.
could do like early, you could do early, and there's also some things where they can
You pull them
collaborate
out in
with
the
other
afternoon.
homeschoolers and stuff
Mhm.
like that, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But if I think that that's where something like that, and because it has nothing to do with me, I can't make this personal about homeschooling or not homeschooling children. Like how would you do that if I'm like it is homeschool, that is got to be the way, and spouse is not homeschooled, the public education system is the thing. One person in that couple loses essentially, right? How that's the thing, or feels like they lose because it was like my kids were to be homeschooled. They go to school, and anytime something reinforces that they should be homeschooled in a public school setting, see, and so sometimes
No,
it
so
just
okay, so I get what you're saying. You're
yeah.
operating on the misconception that there's only one right way to do it, that it's either this way or this way. But in reality, there's thousands of different orientations of ways to make this possible, right? So there's
Mhm,
alternative schools, there's, homeschooling part of the day, there's, being able to do electives at the or sports at the public school. There's homeschool co-ops, there's thousands of possibilities for how to educate your children. So the issue is, how are we going to educate our children? And you've got one spouse who is all about homeschooling and the
mhm,
other spouse who's all about public education, right?
mhm,
So here's where you get to communicate. Here's where you get to collaborate and come up with something that is not a compromise, but better than either one of you would have come up with on your own. And here's what you do: you lead with curiosity. So, spouse who is really into homeschooling, what about homeschooling is so appealing to you? And then they're going to say, well, I don't want my kids in the public education system. Like, the curriculum is terrible. They're going to learn about sex and like it's just
sure,
going to be horrible. There's mean kids there, blah, 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 blah. That's what I feel strongly about. So to me, it's homeschooling, right?
mhm,
And then spouse A turns to spouse B and says, what about the public education system is really important to you? And that spouse is like, well, I want them to be socialized with lots of different children from lots of different nationalities and experiences. I want them to learn how to navigate through all of that and having teachers that are not me and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now we can create on paper, if we wanted to, like a Venn diagram. Like, here's what's important to the homeschooling parent, here's what's important to the public school parent, and what are the non-negotiables of both parents?
mm,
Like, this is really important to me. This is really important to me. You want to go into why? Why is this so important to you? Why is this so important to you? You get like a deeper understanding of each person's experience and preferences, right? And then you look at the Venn diagram and you go, okay, I think that if we oriented it this way, that if we went to this alternative school like we have here, it's called Legacy Academy. And it's like, I think it's maybe 4 hours a day. And it's based on, the curriculum is all religious curriculum, but
mhm.
they go and they're with other students, but it's not the public school education, but it is with other students and whatever. Anyways, then you start doing research. You start going, okay, well, we need to find like a plan that makes spouse A and spouse B happy, that in the end is best for the children, right? And
Mhm.
so then you start researching and you go, okay, I know this is really important to my spouse and this is really important to me. And so how can we create and collaborate something really special for our children that takes into consideration my values and your values,
Do you feel like there's solutions like that for all things?
all things,
All things.
because the number of options is endless. And I think you have so much power when you bring together two opinions. If
Mm.
you just always, you know, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Default. That's the
Default.
word.
I'll take
I
it.
was like,
Default for 200. Yep.
yes, if you always default to one spouse or the other, then you don't get the power of having both of the opinions of both spouses, right?
Hmm.
And so it's always better to collaborate. Collaboration is awesome. That's why, the companies that are the most successful, they bring in lots of different people with lots of different experiences because the amount of solutions that you can come up with lots of different, experiences behind it is way better than having like a uniform, like, okay, well, he's the boss and he makes all the decisions unilaterally. And,
Mhm.
you just don't get as much like diversity or options, solutions.
Yeah, or buy-in from the people that are doing it. Because, like I mentioned, if you do it the
Absolutely,
one way, then
right?
it's like, well, see, you're the way that you said you were going to do it. It's not working. That's
Exactly.
exactly.
You make the decision for me to homeschool, and I'm in charge of homeschooling. I guarantee I'm not going to do a very good job
Hmm.
because you're right. I'm not bought in.
Now, let me ask you just a kind of a quick follow-up to that, which is, um, do you think that it inherently in relationships, people are just a little lazy?
Yeah.
Because good relationships take way more work. We sort of have this romanticized idea of like, I knew it, and then I felt it, and then I prayed about it within our faith tradition, and then we did the thing in the building, and we all lived happily ever after on our own planet in
And
the
then I woke up one day and was like, what have I done?
yeah, just from kind of a lack of probably knowing what tools we need, but then also just like if you don't exercise that we get sort of emotionally and communicatively, relationally lazy, and that's why so many relationships can go from being great in the beginning to just terrible.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the advice you put. In fact, I got to figure out a way to put that into the book somehow. But it is lazy. It's totally lazy. Happy wife, happy life. That's lazy.
Hmm.
Don't sweat the small stuff. That's lazy. Like, if they change, like, I forgot the actual advice, but it's like, when people change, maybe it's time to move on, right? Like, you aren't
Hmm.
the same person that I married. That's lazy. Like, we're supposed to change and evolve and get to know each other and understand each other. And you chose to be with this person. And like, I love that phrase, like, you're not the same person I married. Of course you're not. I'm not the same person I was 2 minutes ago. You've taught me in this last like few minutes that we've been talking a whole bunch of stuff, right? So I'm very different from the moment I jumped on this call to right now. Of course, right? That's our responsibility. There's no constant in life but change. So, yeah, don't be lazy. Communicate, learn about each other. Like, have the difficult conversations. Like, that's what marriage is about. Yes, it's work, but I promise it's the most rewarding work you will ever do.
Let's take another break. When we come back, I want to know a bad piece of advice that either may surprise me and I go, wait a minute, that's not bad, or something. It's dealer's choice in the third block. We'll come back and do that in the third block of the Cultural Hall. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, you know what? I could do a podcast. You should. Having a podcast has been one of the things that a lot of people have really sought out to do. Some just to see, can I even do this thing? I'm here to tell you that you can. And I have consulted lots of people to be able to do it. Now, some people, I consult them and they go, oh, this was way more than I ever thought it would be. And other people go, oh, you know what? A podcast isn't for me, but you helped me decide to do this thing. Whatever it is, maybe it will end up being a podcast, or maybe it'll just end up being that we have some great times together. You realize that it's time to do that in a different season of your life, or the season is now. You can reach out to me, contact at theculturalhall.com, and say podcast consultant, or my email address, Richie, Richiet, Stedman at gmail.com. And be sure that you put podcast consultant in the subject line. Would love to talk to you and see if having a podcast would be the right thing for you. Here in the third block of the Cultural Hall, remember, you can always send us an email, contact at theculturalhall.com. That is how you send us a message like, Monica is so great. Oh my gosh, when can we get more Monica, please? Or you could be like, yeah, Monica, give or take her. It doesn't matter. You can do that. You wouldn't, of course. You would never do that, but you could. It's that agency thing we've been talking about. Contact at theculturalhall.com is the email address. Send it when you think about it, because if you're like, I'll send it later, no, you won't. No, you won't. We don't do that. We don't send it later. We never, literally never send it later. Just send it when you think about it. Bad marriage advice, something that either is highly controversial or maybe one I wouldn't even consider bad marriage advice. Take me here. What is it?
I'm excited about this.
Okay.
This bad marriage advice is that if you marry the right person, they won't hurt you.
Mm.
Because I think the right person is specifically designed to hurt you. And I think
and
it's good for you.
and designed to hurt you in a potentially more than anyone else ever could.
Yeah, exactly. Because of
Oof.
your relationship and your proximity, it's going to hurt bad,
Yeah.
but it's going to hurt so good.
So where does it where if we try and like break down the etymology, or where does it come from? Why do we think that that's great advice?
So I think when we're kind of dating and falling in love, the person that you're so enamored with is showing you the picture of you that you want, right?
Mm,
They're like mirroring back to you the all the best parts of you. They want to be with you. They love the way you smell. Everything you say is the most interesting thing they've ever heard, right? Like you're with this person and they make you feel so good. All those feel good chemicals are running through your body and you just think, this is amazing. I love this person. I want to spend the rest of my life feeling this awesome with this person,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But this is what Terry Real calls the mysticism of marriage because you get married
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden this person that you chose specifically because they make you feel so good, all of a sudden they start poking you in these wounds and raw spots that you have
Hmm.
from growing up, right? And they're triggering you in ways that you didn't even dream were still possible. Now, here's the thing. Here's the mysticism of marriage. Those that that poking is inviting you to heal those past hurts and wounds. So the thing about the person that we choose, and I love what he even calls it, it's called the mysticism of marriage. The person that we choose is close enough to those childhood wounds, right? Like one way of saying is we marry our unfinished business, right? Or we marry somebody who uniquely triggered us in the way that we were wounded as a child, but also someone who has the resources or different resources that our family of origin maybe didn't have.
Mm.
So the thing about that's so cool about this, and I have like literally seen this in so many ways, especially in my own marriage. I've experienced this and I'm like, that is dead on because there's hundreds of people walking around, men in my case, that wouldn't, like they would never hurt me in the ways that my husband has, right? But those men were not attractive to me. Like I wasn't interested in them. They just walked right on by. Maybe I thought they were nerds or, they didn't appeal to me in any way, shape, or form. But my husband, has a lot of the qualities that I experienced growing up. He definitely poked on some abandonment issues and this idea that I had when I got married that there wasn't enough love. If I made a mistake, people would withdraw love from me. Like
Mm.
all of these things are from my childhood. They're not his fault. They're nothing that he could do anything about, but he just happened to trigger them badly and it hurts. But also he has resources that weren't available to me back then. So like when I get really good at communicating and when I am doing some introspective work and I'm like, hey, I really am afraid of you leaving the marriage when you get upset and you walk out. Because that's his coping mechanism, right? He's like, we're not getting along. I'm going to just check out, right? Like that's how he kind of copes. And to me, it's so triggering. It triggered all the abandonment issues. I was like making plans for the divorce and all the
Sure.
things. I'm like, he's done, right?
Hmm.
But when I explain that to him, he has these resources where he can say, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. Like, hey, I'm really upset with you right now, but I'm not going anywhere. Like, you're stuck with me. I'm going to take this load of laundry to the laundromat and I'm going to study. Like, I remember our first fight that we ever had, at BYU. And like, we had this big blow up and he just left the apartment. And I was like, I guess I'm single now. Like, my
Wow.
marriage is over. Like, I screwed up and now it's done, right? He
Hmm.
went to the laundromat to do laundry and study for a test he had the next day, right? But
Hmm.
I was so fearful. And so, yeah, not anymore. It's not necessary anymore, but he learned that about me and he had the emotional maturity and the resources to be able to say, he could see it in my eyes, like me, like recoiling and like freaking out. And he could be like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm upset, but I'm not going anywhere.
Hmm.
Like, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah,
Right. And so it gave me the opportunity, not that he healed me, because I don't think your spouse is ever going to be able to heal you, but
definitely
it
not.
gave me the opportunity and the safety and security to be able to heal myself. So now those abandonment things don't trigger me so much anymore. Like I don't freak out every time we have an argument or disagreement. I just go, okay, he's never left. He hasn't, in the 23 years we've been married, he hasn't gone anywhere. He's not planning on going anywhere. Like, we just need to work this out. So that's what's so cool about the mysticism of marriage, as you pick your spouse,
Hmm.
like specifically so that they will give you the opportunities that you need to heal.
I'm a nosy person,
Go for it.
so feel free to not answer this question, but I would love to know what your first fight was about, unless it's none of my business.
No, it was about him always being gone because he was a student at BYU and I was working full time.
Uh-huh.
And so he would come home like super late at night. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, where have you been? Right. But he was like at the library studying or whatever. And I was like, we never get to spend any time together. Like, I'm here in the apartment all by myself. And when I say apartment, that's like a really generous term. Like, it was like a one room shack. Like, it was
Sure.
awful. Right. And
Sure.
so here I am, like lonely and depressed. And I've been working all day and I just want to see my husband. And he comes home late at night. And I'm like, where were you? And this was before we had the, unlimited calling plan. Like, there was minutes and stuff, right? So we
Sure.
couldn't
Sure.
like always call me. But I was just like, why don't you tell me when you're going to be home? And of course, he felt super defensive, like I was blaming, I was
Right.
accusing
Like
him
I'm
of
not out.
something.
Yeah, I'm not out with people. I'm studying a book. Do you want to study a book
Exactly,
along
exactly.
with?
He's like,
Yeah,
you
I
want to
get you.
come see me in the
Sure.
library? Like, like what do what's your problem, right?
Sure.
And so, yeah, we get in this big knockdown drag out, and he's like headed to the laundromat.
Yeah, funny, funny. And I don't laugh at your pain, but I do think that it's funny how we can evolve as couples and as individuals. And now you could probably look at that and be like, man, I wish you'd go to the library. I wish you'd be gone.
Right.
I mean, not really, but yeah, kind of. So then, if the bad marriage advice is w- to restate that one is that if you marry the right person, they can't hurt you. Is
Not
the
gonna happen.
correct marriage advice? Remember, the person that you marry is the one that's most statistically likely to kill you. Is that the good marriage advice? Is that is that the thing we should remember?
Well, you have to remember that part of differentiation, which is a very important principle I talk about in the book, is being able to tolerate pain for growth.
Hmm.
Because growing hurts, right?
Yeah.
You want muscles, you go to the gym, you you get sore, and that's how your muscles grow. It's the same with your emotional well-being, mental well-being, like all of it, right? Like, you have to be able to tolerate pain for growth. And guess what? You chose your partner specifically so they would hurt you in the right ways so that you could heal.
Hmm. That's pretty powerful. I like my better marriage advice, though. I like, remember, your spouse is the one most likely to kill you. That may
Right.
be the title of this episode. I'm just saying. Monica, you know from before that there are three questions that we ask everyone who steps into the cultural hall. I will ask those of you now. The first question is do you have a calling? And if so, what is it?
Oh, I love it. I work with the young women, specifically the oldest group, which both of my daughters are a part of for a very short period of time. My oldest daughter is about to graduate, and that will be very sad for me.
Do you find yourself using a lot of this? When I think of like the teens, in fact, I was joking around with a potential client yesterday about how emotionally we are as teens, where it's like, oh, the world is ending. And you're like, you went on a date with this person. Do you find that all these things that you're talking about, communication and relationships, do you find them to be helpful for even the young women that you're able to work with? Or is it like, this is minor leagues. This is more major league stuff that you're talking about.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm good at relationships. Not because I just was born with it. I study, I obsess about relationships, and all of life is relationships. So all the teen girl drama that, happens daily, right? It's about relationships. It's about learning how to communicate. It's a lot about learning how to love people that are hard to love. Like it's about having uncomfortable conversations and leaving your comfort zone and, you know, loving like Christ did, right? And so I do think that all of the things that I talk about are super, super helpful. And it all prepares you for marriage. Like
Yeah.
literally, like, all of the drama, all of the, things that feel so big right now, they're all preparing you for, you know, not only getting married, but raising your own children.
Hmm. If you could pick a calling for yourself, either one that exists or make one up, what would you pick?
Marriage specialist. No, I
For the
would love to
Lord?
work with couples.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine? That would be huge. I would
Yeah.
love a thing. Hey, 2 times a year over at the church, we're doing an hour long thing with Monica. That would be massive.
I would love that. So, I mean, yeah, right now, there's no better calling for me than young women's, but
Mhm.
my girls will eventually graduate and leave. And, then I definitely want to be called as the marriage specialist.
Yeah, I really do. I think that they're more attention to some of those resources, even if, because I think the problem that we got into, get me on a tangent, here we go, is that we feel like we have to, within the church, we have to completely fix the thing. And I would just love it if we would talk a little bit more about the thing. Hey, everybody, we're talking about the thing on Sunday, on Tuesday. We're doing dinner and a talk about thing. Let's come talk about this thing. Well, is it doctrinally based? Nope. We're talking, I mean, yes, it is relationships and all these things, but you're like, we're not opening Moroni and being like, and then it came to pass. It's, hey, we're communicating issues. Anyway, tangent. I'd love
Yeah,
it if
no,
we
I
did more
love
of
it.
that.
No, I mean, if we could figure out how to create that calling, like I'm all there.
Well,
Put in
I'll
a good
pay
word for me.
I'll pay 12% and then I'll put in a good word. The last question we ask everyone, we ask you to interpret it however you may. I don't remember how you answered it last time. I'm assuming you did because I ask it of everyone. But the question remains, what is your favorite part of your faith?
So good. My favorite part of my faith is understanding my relationship to heavenly parents and Jesus Christ who atoned for my every imperfection, my sins, my shortcomings, my all the choices that I wish I could choose something different, right? Like I just tore my ACL.
Oh no.
I fell
Oh,
off a stool and I wish
oh,
that I could go back and not stand on that stool. Like, what on earth possessed me to? I was trying to get a nail out of the wall and I should have had one of my kids do that. Like,
yep.
why on earth did I step up onto that stool? So stupid, right? But Christ atoned for all of that, right? And so, I mean, that's a silly example, but definitely knowing that the atonement is for all of us and that we can constantly work and grow and become better. Just it's such a beautiful, beautiful principle and like fully understood. And I know I don't even understand the depths of it, but fully understood that is so empowering.
Well, I have definitely enjoyed our time together. Link for the book will be available in the show notes. Also, if you want to go back and learn more about Monica and her conversion story, that episode 349, there is a link for that in the show notes as well. Website for the book, tell people what that is and how they can get it and all of that. Of course, will be in the show notes, but I want to hear you say it as well.
Yeah. So the website for the book is badmarriageadvice.com. Super simple. Of course, you can find it on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure it will be in other book retailers as well.
And then, are you the best following Monica Tanner on social media, or is there bad marriage advice?
No, no, just Monty Tanner. Yeah, I'm Monty Tanner in most places.
Moni Tanner. And
That's it.
then we didn't even mention this, but your podcast.
Yeah, Secrets of Happily Ever After. So the last chapter of the book is Happily Ever After doesn't exist. So lower your expectations, right? That's the terrible marriage advice.
Ooh.
But my whole platform, my whole podcast is dedicated to this idea that Happily Ever After does exist. It just requires a little bit of work and effort from us.
And episodes of that are like you talking with other professionals? Is it you with clients? What can people anticipate from that?
Yeah, so a lot of it recently has just been my musings and like the things that I've learned, but I definitely interview other professionals. I love books, so lots of authors send me their books. I read them and then interview them on the podcast. Do have some episodes with Nate Bagley from way back in the day.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there are some coaching episodes, but not a lot. Most people don't want their private lives splashed all over the airwaves.
Sure.
So yeah, it's mostly the things that I'm learning and guests that are awesome in their fields, also super, super helpful.
And you can find that where you find the Cultural Hall. It's Secrets of Happily Ever After. So
That's
people
right.
can like and subscribe and leave reviews for that, just like you can for the Cultural Hall, just like Monica did, for crying out loud. Be like Monica. BLM. Be like Monica. We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body, that if you're not healthy enough to listen this week, that you'll be healthy enough to listen next week, and that when the time comes, you will be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger, with a U, will be saving a seat for you on the back row of the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row. We read